so that bumps it up even further.
Thank you. I appreciate you digging into the details.
Sure.
Well, that was good. I have no questions.
Move approval.
Is there motion for approval? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bussey?
Aye.
Mayor Miller?
Aye. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Item 6A under new business is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2070 approving a contract renewal with EMS Medical Billing Associates LLC. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I will second that. Chief?
This is a renewal of a contract that we've had with EMS Medical Billing. They've been doing it since mid-2010, right after I was appointed. There was some significant language change with their initial proposal. I sent it on to City Attorney Cole. He worked back and forth with them, and this is the final that he approved. The language, some of the language drafting was they had court dates for Milwaukee County as opposed to having it in Dane County. So he worked with them to go through the contract, and he's comfortable with the contract that we've got now. And so the service that we've been getting from them is excellent. I have no problems with it whatsoever.
It's more than paid for itself. All right, further discussion? Any questions? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6B is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2071, purchase approval of a 2016 Pierce Enforcer PUC triple combination pumper rescue. Whoa.
This is the truck that we've been in. We've had a truck committee set up. Been going through the process of looking at the trucks. We approved the single purchase or single source for the purchase, and I'll turn this over to Assistant Chief Eckloff. He's the head of the truck committee. So.
Good evening, Mayor. Alder Bussey. We did update the truck a little bit since our last meeting. We finalized the concepts we were going after for our rescue equipment that needed to add some costs. We subtracted some other things to offset that added cost. We ultimately ended up with a purchase price of $599,755 with a prepayment discount of $31,140. It's $568,715, I believe. This truck will meet our needs for many, many years. It has a lot of features that we're able to incorporate that were similar in nature to the truck we saw from Shorewood Hills. It's similar in shape, size. We had to do some things to make it advantageous for our fire station. The travel height is 10'6". Most of the trucks are close to 12 feet. We had to make that happen to make it fit inside the station. The particular PUC chassis, it stands for Pierce Ultimate Configuration, and that actually puts the pump below the chassis rails, and it's hydraulically driven. That is a trademarked piece of equipment that Pierce has. They're the only ones that can do that. So that actually helped lower the truck height. The other thing is Pierce also has it's called attack force suspension, which reduces the overall travel height of the truck. And ultimately, the Enforcer chassis is 4 inches shorter than the conventional custom chassis. It's specifically designed for shorter in stature stations.
Is this one-of-a-kind truck?
No.
Oh.
It's one of a kind because it's built for our needs.
But they're not like cutting 2 feet off the chassis?
Oh, no. It's a standard chassis length. It's a standard chassis height. We made it the compartmentation, the size of the pump, the tank size, the hose size, all those things are things that we added. We tried to make it as similar as to the other engine. Pierce is what has manufactured our other 3 trucks that we bought. So operation is very similar. The support's fantastic. It's manufactured 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So it's a good company. We've had really good reputation with those folks, and I recommend that you pursue that.
Used to cut through their parking lot to play racquetball. My youth. Mark?
I just want, just in case the budget numbers, Scott talks about the purchase price is 600,000, but we actually budget 549,000, and I detailed how we got to that 549. The sale is 25,000, and the estimated discount is 26,000. The discount came in better than what we thought, from 26,000 to 31,000. So if you get the estimated 25,000, what we're thinking for the sale of the truck, which will come after we take delivery of this new one, we will be under budget by roughly $5,300 at a minimum.
Good job. Alder Bussey. Well, go ahead.
We also feel that the 25,000
Is
is
conservative.
a conservative number on the sale of our current truck. So.
125 will be sufficient.
That's what I was going to ask. Who is the customer for your aftermarket?
Smaller
Vehicles.
departments, rural departments that can't necessarily afford a newer vehicle. They don't have the call volume. Their call volume is 50 to 100 for
Yeah.
the year, where we're running 500.
Yeah.
So
Do they not have to meet those? Because part of the reason we rushed this was to beat those
Well,
fire
the
protection code.
NFPA has a new requirement. The NFPA 1901 is a standard that the truck is being built to. February 1st, that standard changes.
Oh,
So the new truck falls
next
under that new
week's will
standard.
be a different.
The old truck doesn't need to meet that standard. So.
The engine that we have met the standards at the time it was built. It doesn't meet today's standards, but whoever assumes that truck assumes it at the time it was built. So it is currently complies with NFPA for the year it was built.
Cool. Further questions at all? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Miller,
Aye.
Alder Bussey,
Aye.
Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Eckloff, for your hard work.
Mayor Miller. Can I assume that
Oh.
Jim made the motion and
No,
Alder
we
Bussey?
did not. First, they started talking before I asked for, is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I will second that.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Yep, thank you.
I still
I
vote.
thought these
aye.
meetings have been too dull, so I asked that we could have some entertainment. So, no, it's open mic tonight in the library, so if you wonder what that sound in the background is, it's youth singers. Item 6C is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2072 is approving a one-year extension to the agreement with Vanderwall and Associates for services related to the mixed-use waterfront development project. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I will second that. Ms. Reichertz, welcome.
Thank you. This is contract for professional planning services with Vanderwall and Associates to assist with the riverfront redevelopment project. It's the exact same contract that we approved last year with a total budget not to exceed $120,000. And the idea is that there would be a consistent level of work each month, so averaging $10,000 worth of work. But in reality, it varies quite a lot depending on the work that's needed during that month. So sometimes it would be less than that, and sometimes it's more. But regardless, it would not exceed $120,000. I think Vanderwall's assistance has been really valuable so far. There were separate work orders that they completed for creation of the TIF district and redevelopment area. And under this work order, they created different draft master concept plans and have responded to developers' pro formas and assisted with development recruitment. So those types of tasks would continue.
And you manage their workload per se, correct? So you can kind of keep an eye on how this billing's going?
Yes.
The one concern I have, I've discussed this with the finance director about any contract services, they seem to magically hit the numbers. And I don't know that they necessarily will or could or should, but I too have been very pleased with the work of Vanderwall. I just want to make sure we're on top of that. They're not analyzing something that's not required at that point in time. The other suggestion I might make is this is going before CDA next week, correct?
Yes.
And this is first reading tonight at council.
Correct, yep.
I thought maybe we could table this till after to see what CDA has to say.
Good, or we could approve it here and then table it at council, I guess.
Well, it's first reading at council, so,
Right, or yeah, first reading at council,
so, yeah, that's true. We could go ahead with it.
Is
here.
are the monies in the budget for this?
That's what I wanted.
Oh, Mark, I'm sorry.
Two things with this. Since this is TIF 9, we typically don't have, there's no money, because there's no money, there's no project. So there's two ways to pay for this, and I guess we don't have a fiscal note. The two ways to pay for this is, one, we added into the borrowing that's coming up here in the next meeting, add $120,000 in there, or what we can do is called advance it from the general fund, which what entails is basically the general fund would be the loan department. They'll loan this TIF 9 the money and then charge interest. This is a lot of communities, a lot of bigger communities kind of do this. And when we work with City of Appleton, they charge 5% the TIF, and then they eventually pay it back. So that's an option I would do.
What do you prefer?
At 120,000, I would prefer. I think the easiest way would go to the advance portion of it, because since it's easier to account for with that way. Then add it into
Do
loan.
the auditors have a preference?
No, they don't have. I mean, they could go either way with that, but that's the way I would prefer it. I guess. I mean, I think that'd be the easiest. Because we don't know for sure if we even use 120,000. It's kind of we pay as we go based on what type of projects we'll do and what they'll do for us.
So you don't risk any arbitrage issues?
Right, just risk that and just risk borrowing money we don't spend. Eventually we would spend it, but let's sit there for a long time. That'd be my recommendation for that.
Okay. And even with the budget of reduction of the general fund?
It would still under,
we're
still
way
above
over.
20%.
Questions, Alder Bussey?
None.
Anything else, Sonia?
No.
All right, there's a motion for approval and a second. Will clerk please call the roll?
Alder Bussey?
Aye.
Mayor Miller?
Aye. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
Item 6D is consideration of ordinance 1-16-674, amending chapter 7-13 of the Code of Ordinances concerning transient merchants. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I will second that. April, is this for your explanation, or who's taking
It
the
would be
lead on
me.
this? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
City clerk?
Food carts are a relatively new phenomenon in Monona, and we realized that we really should get more information from them, from food cart vendors, regarding their health department certifications and insurance levels and that type of thing. So conferring with the city attorney, he felt we could add food cart, he calls them mobile food establishments, could be added into our existing transient merchant ordinance, and also the transient merchant ordinance was updated at the same time. So because there were things in there that we were asking for that we don't ask for in our applications, and we need to clean it up, and there were some issues. So did it all at once, and the reason I believe that it's at finance and personnel is that we're asking for a fee of $50 annually for the mobile food establishment, and we did not raise the rate for the regular door-to-door typical transient merchant.
Did Jake have any input or thoughts, or was he?
I asked Jake, and he was meeting with the food cart group, and I did not get any response from Jake that,
So we don't
that
know.
there were any issues with it, or that they thought it
Do we
was
know if any other
outlandish.
community has something like this?
Yes, a lot of what we did was I reviewed La Crosse, Milwaukee, Austin, Texas, various other places that had these type of ordinances, and the fees especially, we were way under fee for what others are charging, because it does involve department head review and other things that would add to our cost to license them.
You were not aware of any other Dane County?
Well, Madison
Madison
has a
okay.
real detailed,
Okay.
more than we would need type of thing.
Yeah.
And, but that's why I didn't use them as really an example. La Crosse was held up as kind of a good way to go. But Bill, our city attorney did go through it and came up with these guidelines.
Makes common sense. That makes sense to do it, so.
I feel a lot more
I just hope we don't
comfortable.
scare anyone off through it, but most of our food carts do City of Madison vending too, so if they're
Yes.
already amenable to Madison's, hopefully they're okay with ours.
And looking at our comparison fee, we're still way down there. We're not trying to overcharge them at all. It's feasible fee.
Alder Bussey?
I guess if, I plan on supporting this here, and it's going to be first read for council, but if there are some comparative fees that, for the second reading, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right, hearing no further questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 6E is consideration of Resolution 16-1-2073, approving a proposal for city assessment services. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I will second that. Who has the privilege of presenting?
I'll start, but we're going to tag team this
All
one.
right.
So Mark's got a little more history than I do. We sent out a request for proposals for assessment services, and we received two back. One was from Accurate Appraisal, which was our past assessor, and the other one was for Associated Appraisal. And we did have a little bit of difficulty with this one. If you're purely looking at the numbers, it would be less expensive to go with Associated Appraisal, which is the company that we have had in the past. And I know our staff has not had problems working with them before. I've worked with both companies in the past and have not had problems with either company. And in fact, I found their services to be pretty similar in appearance. If we went with Accurate Appraisal, it's easy to mix those two. The city would save $33,000. The budget was $75,000 in 2016, and over the total cost over 4 years, there would be a savings of $36,520 if we went with Accurate, because Associated charges extra for things like website hosting, and Accurate includes the cost of mailing letters to all people, not just those who had a change in assessment, and that's something that we would want to get into the contract. With all that being said, I know this had been a concern for the council before, and I had asked for some factual information from the Department of Revenue regarding the situation with Accurate Appraisal and the services in terms of the issues with the Department of Revenue. And I gave you here, I guess you could call it sort of a reference check for both companies, and they've not had anybody file any complaint or issues with Associated Appraisal, but there was a situation with Accurate Appraisal, which is still ongoing, and this memo that I have before you kind of lays out the facts in terms of their transactions with the Department of Revenue, and it started with a complaint regarding the village of Germantown. And I'm sure you guys kind of have read that letter before, and I guess we're probably looking for some direction on how big of a concern you feel like this is. Would you like?
It was a major concern because it was kind of an ethics charge, an ethics violation. But did you have any verbal conversation with this person?
Mark did.
I have, Yeah, I've actually talked to the state.
That letter, that email was very lawyerly written.
Yeah,
And said just the facts, and there was no hint as to.
I had talked to the state when it first initially happened, and the state basically came down to, the other people had different way their contracts were set up. Basically, they had contracts where, so our contracts were, we were revalued every year based on sales and other factors. A lot of different communities don't have that, where they just have their, it's called a maintenance contract, and the only time their assessments are changed is if they pull building permits. And the issue came down, one of the big issues from talking to them was how they valued sales sales, and technically sales were not supposed to be changed. They're still part of the maintenance, and there were some gray areas there, and that was where the issues they ran into with. It didn't affect us because we were 100%. We're revalued every year, so our contract was nothing like those other contracts. As far as day-to-day, I talked to Jim, and I've told him our concerns with them. I do think if we do go with Accurate, I think we put in the contract that, we're watching you if there's any issues with the state or any other things, that we just pull it. I think that's a thing we could put in there, but.
Have you talked to Bill about that yet?
No, I have not talked to,
Okay.
but I know we've done that for other contracts.
I would, at the bare minimum, want to have that if
Yeah.
this turns out, because the case is still pending.
No, the case is basically what the one person, his license was suspended, one person in there,
Who happened to be the president, right?
have to be the lead person, yeah. So I think he's reinstated now. He had like a 6-month, or I don't know how long it was.
What started in, I thought it said November, so it might still be, it still might be out there.
Yeah.
I saw it in here someplace.
Yeah.
So knowing what you know, what are your two professional opinions? And I guess Joan too, they use you as a reference.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say, City Clerk?
I found that Accurate Appraisal was, with working with Jim Danielson, has always been very professional. He handles himself really well with our residents when they have complaints. People do get pretty heated at Board of Review. He has the skill and knowledge to respond to their cases in a way that makes sense to the board and to the resident. Generally, we don't hear back after cases have not been resolved in the property owner's favor. We don't hear back. They don't go to court. They don't take it any further. I think he makes clear, reasoned responses. It's also, on a personal level, just been a pleasure to work with them. All of them are very responsive to us. They answer emails right away. They call right away, help me through. When I first became clerk, I was clueless on the procedures. They helped me through it. I don't have any negative experience. If I had something negative, I would say it, but I don't. So
It is one of those business where if you don't like your assessments, it's a complaining business. People, if they don't like it, there's going to be a lot of hollering. So,
No one shows up to thank us for raising their taxes?
so we actually do get people who want their assessment increased when they get ready to sell their house. That's actually kind of common. I mean, not common, but it does happen. A couple people per year. I just looked at the pure numbers. I looked at the savings of $36,000 over so many years. There's one thing in there. Accurate will send letters to everybody without a charge. This was a big issue a couple years ago. They weren't sending letters to everybody because state law says they don't have to send a letter if your assessment doesn't change or within a certain dollar or percentage. We rectified that problem, says you need to send it to everybody because we were getting complaints on that. That was a big complaint. We did send that out to everybody because people want to contest even though their assessment didn't change because of the economy at the time. So that's a big one. There's a charge if it, Associated does it. The website's free. I mean, as far as the complaints and that, I haven't personally have it, but there is that out there. So, it's, I guess, one of those things. I don't have a great answer to, but
Germantown people?
that I don't know.
That's a really good question.
Alder Bussey?
Can you give an example of what Mr. Danielson, I mean, he voluntarily gave up his license for 6 months. So it says that he failed to verify and validate sales according to the Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual. Give me an example of what type of offense that would be, or was.
I don't know exactly what it was. From understanding, under a maintenance contract, I think what happened was they were adjusting to the sales price, and they were not supposed to per the for maintenance.
So if a property sold, it was just automatically set at the sale price rather than doing their homework and determining what comparable sales in the area were and what the value of the home.
No, that's what ours are. That's what our contract is. Theirs is
Who's
for
theirs?
Germantown had a
maintenance contract. The maintenance contract, you really don't change your assessments.
full value.
So unless you pull a billing permit, then your assessments is supposed to stay the same. And I think they were adjusting people who had sales. So basically, so your house sold for, you sold your house, your new owner bought it for $100,000 less instead of 500,000, 400,000. They would adjust it down, I believe, to close to the 400,000. They should have left it at the 500,000. So
In Germantown?
yeah, there were some of the issues I think they were dealing with.
Where here, we would have looked at what comparable sales were.
We looked at
and
sales.
set a separate price.
Yes, you would look at the sales and adjust everybody kind of to the sales of that neighborhood or like-kind houses. That's how you get to 100% reevaluation.
Interesting, they still do list Germantown as a client in their current, and it says current clients, and Germantown is a current client for Accurate.
Well, and I don't know how in-depth they get when they update some of these proposals. I mean, I think Associated had frankly, a better written proposal. It was more detailed and so forth. But the phrase that you mentioned was the exact same phrase that bothered me, failed to verify. And also that they internally reviewed assessments in Town of Rock, Delavan, Geneva, and that he had this warning. I guess, and Bill and I did have a little bit of a conversation, but it seems to me that these state agencies are so busy that they're not going to bother doing an investigation like this unless they really feel that there's something to be concerned about. You know what I mean? That they're so short-staffed as it is. So just the nature of that, did bother me a little bit. But, I think we were kind of just looking for direction. Do you want us to delve a little deeper, and what kind of questions might you have? Do you want him to come in and talk to us?
I guess what I would like to do is defer this to council at first read, get the input of the, I don't feel comfortable making a recommendation tonight. So defer it to council from this committee, and then hear what the rest of the council has to say, and if there's more information, because this doesn't make me comfortable. I know, just to save money, but these are issues that in the home value of people, and we owe it to our citizens to be careful on this. So I would, I guess I'm going to move to defer this to council.
I will agree to that. So there's a motion to defer this and table. Oh, Mark?
One thing that's kind of related to this, there is a savings on here. I know there's a budget amendment at council. Either one you go with, there's going to be a savings. I would, instead of using fund balance when it comes up to another one, I would use the savings for from this. I believe with the planning economic development director salaries, I would change that to take the savings from, because I assume you're going to, one way or another, we're going to approve one of them with the savings to cover it.
Something we have to do.
With the savings to cover it, so I would recommend using that as our.
I guess I do like the idea of asking if they would make a presentation.
Yeah, I can.
I think that, because this is a multi-year contract, and especially now that we're doing the walkthroughs for the first time in 4 or 5 years. Alder Bussey.
Our budget was 75, and even the higher priced one here is 24,000, almost 24,000.
Right.
which is a savings, so again, I would like to see what the rest of the council feels, because I'm not comfortable with this.
All right, there's been a motion to defer to council and to table this to after that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion that's been tabled. Item 7 is acceptance of the general fund accounts payable checks dated December 31st, 2015 to January 14th, 2016. Mark?
You'll find a lot of tax overpayments in here, so you'll see a lot of refunds in here. But
You
it
missed
just,
mine.
it's in the mail.
You paid twice, right?
Just kind of hitting the little things. Baker and Taylor books, these are booked for life that was purchased. These are all library books. These are paid out of a donation, basically a donation account money. So it's not actually hitting, comes out of the operating fund, comes out of a donation fund.
The music's getting to be just a little bit much.
Page 7, Ken's Deli. It's the facade improvement program. It's all finished and drive by. It looks really nice. Page 8, just want to hit on this. We do buy local. Here's our just Menards, Monona. Just a lot of little stuff that we have to buy. A lot of this is public works or departments. Page 11, just pumps, tires, and services. I just like to hit on these just because this was actually one of our maintenance trucks, just replacing tires. Just little things like that just add up. They're a little expensive. Page 12.
So you just mentioned we try to buy local, but I noticed we use Office Depot instead of Staples.
We buy the online. It's cheaper prices. We can look.
Okay.
There's some staples.
We do
here.
use
They're the
Staple.
same
Okay.
company.
So we shop
that's-
well. Okay.
Well, it's the same company too.
Really?
Yeah,
Is it?
Office
Related.
Depot and Staples have the same ownership?
They're they're related.
related.
No competition.
degree.
Crushing.
Are we all related?
In the larger scheme of things.
Page 12, Strand. Just a couple things they're working on right now for us. Page 13, Thunder Road asphalt, were some parking lot maintenance that was needed, part of the capital budget. Underneath that, Tyson's Printing, winter spring newsletter. Page 15, Yost is our EMS medical director stipend. That's an annual payment. Page 16 is our Leads Online annual fee. As 17, Huska Park, I don't know where the scoreboard broke and they replaced it, and there was a donation, our portion of the contribution for it.
I'm sorry, but ICMA stands for what?
ICMA is our retirement, or it's our 401k.
Okay.
That's where our opt-out goes into, our 401k. And other people's has our stuff too.
That scoreboard donation, does that come through Jake's Park?
Yes.
Okay. Just in case anyone wonders what happened there, the original scoreboard, which was the new scoreboard, was struck by lightning and blew up.
They couldn't find any
So
parts
they
for
had-
it.
It was fried, so they had to acquire a second new scoreboard. They'd gotten, like off of Craigslist, the first one, a super deal, and there were no more super deals.
To be had.
Page 21, Purple Cow. It's an annual fee for the yard waste disposal. And that's all I have.
Questions?
Move approval of general funds dated December 31st to January 14th,
Is there any further
2016.
discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Checks have been accepted. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Move to
I will
adjourn.
second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.